Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zack and today I am driving a 2016 Audi A3 Quattro Premium. Up front is a 2.0 liter turbocharged inline-4 and down below is a 6-speed automatic transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this A3 Quattro because I have a little bit of experience with this chassis. I recently drove the RS3. I also drove an A3 a couple years back. I've driven many Golfs here on the channel, and so I'm excited to highlight this one here today because I think it's actually really good value, and we'll talk about why that is. The second reason is the fact that this does have a stage 1 tune on it, intake and downpipe, some very simple bolt-ons that we'll talk about towards the end of the video. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. I don't know if it came across on camera, but there was a little bit of turbo whistle, blow-off valve, the DSG fart noises. I like that a lot. But let's get back to that 2.0 liter turbo under the hood. Well, this isn't a new engine for Audi or the Volkswagen Group. They threw this thing in everything. The Tiguan, the Jetta, the Golf, the Q3, even the Porsche Macan got this engine at its base level. It's a very well-known, very hard-working engine. Something to be aware of, these do have water pump issues and timing chain, so get that stuff checked out before 100K miles. My recommendation, and the recommendation of a lot of owners. But as long as you do that preventative maintenance, these seem to be pretty good, and like I said, they're very well-known. Parts availability is pretty good, and they're very easily tunable. With an intake, downpipe, tune, you can make a little bit more power for not that much more money, which is very nice to see and feel. That'll wake you up. It'll wake you up. Like I said, paired to it is a 6-speed Tiptronic transmission. It's automatic. The reason I say 6-speed is that you could get these with 7 speeds as well. This was kind of a crossover era. Now most performance Volkswagen products come with the 7-speed, but back in 2016 you actually had the option. This one just has the 6-speed, and I like it. It's a quick shifting, good transmission that I think does the job very well. Last but not least, this is the Quattro, so it is all-wheel drive. However, you could find A3s in front-wheel drive if that's something that you wanted. How does it feel to drive the Audi A3 with some simple bolt-ons? Well, it's fantastic. As I mentioned, this does have a tune, so it's making a little bit more power than usual, but it's not skyrocketing me to the heavens. It's just woken up a little bit. I love the size of the A3, and I talked about this with the RS3 video. I love the size of it. Visibility is good. Usability is good. The ride isn't too stiff, although this is lowered about an inch. It's not breaking my back. It's a fun all-around car. Is it the fastest I've ever driven? No. Is it the most comfortable I've ever driven? No. But it does both of those things well enough to be acceptable and a good car. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 4 physical gauges and a screen. Off to the left is my tachometer and coolant temperature, and off to the right is my speedometer and fuel. We do get a little information screen in the center that I can swap around, pretty typical of Volkswagen products. On the steering wheel, on the left, we have our skip track, OK, and selector, and off to the right, we have volume, navigation, voice commands, and our favorite button. And off to the left, we have a climate control vent, headlight switch, and gauge dimmer switch. Moving out of the door, we have lock and unlock, power mirrors, and power windows. Moving into the center, we do get our little infotainment screen. Now, first of all, when you turn the vehicle on, this does come out of the dash. It does have a fun little dance that it does. Nice to see that. We do have a backup camera too, which is nice because this is 2 years before the government legally required it, so that was a luxury at the time. Down below that, we have 2 climate control vents, hazard switch, parking sensors, and screen up and down. down. And then we have our climate controls. We have dual zone climate here in the A3. We have heated seats, fan speed, all displayed really well. And this looks and feels very modern. That will be a recurring theme throughout the rest of the video. But this feels very, very modern, even though it's 9 years old. Then we do have a 12-volt outlet and cup holders. We'll do a big friggin' bottle test. It fails. Wah, wah, wah. Then we have the shifter in the center, start-stop button to the left, volume knob and skip track to the right, as well as our selectors for that infotainment display in the center, menu, navigation, radio, things like that. We also do have our power parking brake, a center console, and the seats. The seats aren't anything special, although I actually fit in them and like them a lot better than the RS3. So if size is an issue for you, like it is for me, these seats are much better than the RS3. However, speaking of seats, although I know how this is gonna go, let's hop into the back and do a back seat review. I already know how this is gonna go, but gotta do it anyway. All right, we're in the back of the Audi A3, and honestly, it feels a little bit better than the RS3 that we drove not too long ago, but not by much. We have incandescent lights. We have lock buttons on the passenger doors for some reason. We do get a center console. Cup holders in here, but as every Volkswagen product does when they don't get used, they don't want to come out today. That's okay. The cup holders did not see their shadow, so 3 more weeks of winter! I don't think that's how that works. It's not great back here. If you have a niece in town and you got to take her to Drury Lane to see a musical, yeah, you could take her back here. If you have friends visiting or you need to run to the store and you and 2 other people want to go, you can use your Audi A3 for that. It has a back seat, which is a huge improvement over the Audi TT. So it has it. I don't want to be back here. I'll be brutally honest. I don't want to spend 1 more minute back here than I have to for the video. 5'11", not a small guy. Let's hop into the trunk. If I remember correctly, it's a decent-sized trunk, but then we'll talk about the looks. I did not know that I would have an audience for this trunk review. Shout out to Savage Geese. I hope these are less savage. Okay, coming around the back here, we do have a button here in the center for our rear trunk space. Now, it is pretty good width-wise. It's not very deep, although it does go up towards the rear seats quite a fair amount. So I would say it's a decent back seat. I'm not overly impressed. I'm not hating on it. I think it does okay. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I really like the look of the A3. I think that it's reserved. I think it's handsome. I think it looks good. This does have aftermarket wheels. As I mentioned, it has about a 1-inch suspension drop and the little fin at the back. So visually it's a touch different, but you get the general idea. I think the A3, again, is proportioned really well. It doesn't look like it's too small or too big, although it is still a smaller vehicle. I just don't like the fact that it's white. I feel like every A3, every affordable Audi I see is either white or black, and I wish that they would do a fun or interesting color, but of course they never will. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving this Audi A3? With the tune, but not the RS3, not even an S3, just the premium with the 2-liter. Well, I like this car a lot. Honestly, the shortcomings are just in the packaging with the rear seat and trunk. If you want to drive people around, this ain't the car to do that in. However, there are many positives. With this simple trick of the tune, downpipe, intake, and exhaust, it's a riot. It's fun to drive, and it sounds good, and at the end of the day, it's engaging. That's the best part. You might not be breaking your track records, but it's fun, and it keeps you wide-eyed and bushy-tailed for your entire time with the vehicle. It put a smile on my face, and that's more than what some cars can do. However, having just recently driven the Audi RS3, would I rather have that? Yes, of course. Of course I would rather have the RS3. It makes almost twice the horsepower stock. It has the 5-cylinder. It sounds like a baby Audi R8. However, those go for $30,000, $40,000. These can be purchased for a lot lot less. And that's something that you have to account for with how good a vehicle is. I always say that the Mazda Miata is the best sports car. Now, the Honda S2000 drives better. As a lifelong Mazda owner and fan, I'll happily say that. But you're not going to find a Honda S2000 for $2,500 on the side of the road. You're not going to find an S2000 for really under 10. So the Miata is better. It's more accessible. It's friendlier to more budgets. That's how I feel about this A3. Is it the full bore, in your face RS3? No, it's not. But for half the price, a third of the price, it ain't as far off as you would think. And like a vehicle like this, put some bolt-ons on it, intake tune, I know I keep saying it, exhaust, liven it up a little bit. You're gonna still get thrill and you're gonna still get enjoyment out of a vehicle like this. And you're not gonna have this looming car payment over your head for a vehicle that isn't brand new. That's where the A3 really comes into its own. It's accessible. You can find them. They're not hard to find, especially on the used market. And they're good. It feels nicer in here than any Volkswagen product because it is an Audi and it's supposed to be. But you get nicer amenities like the dual zone climate and the heated seats where some Golfs might not have that. Overall, I think this car is a really, really big win, especially for people looking to get into something sporty and fun now 9 years past when this vehicle was made. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Brandon for letting me borrow his A3 for today's video. He's been wonderful to work with, a very gracious host, and I appreciate him making time for me to film his car. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.